In a major blow to big tech, a federal judge ruled Monday that Google has spent billions to create a monopoly over search and advertising in violation of antitrust law. The U.S. District Court judge wrote, quote, "After having carefully considered and weighed the witness testimony and evidence, the court reaches the following conclusion. Google is a monopolist and it has acted as one to maintain its monopoly." This is the first big win for federal authorities going after big tech's massive market power. Second trial will determine potential fixes, which could include breaking up Google parent company Alphabet. That process, though, will likely be lengthy.
The judge found Google maintained a monopoly through exclusive agreements with partners like Apple that ensure it's the default search engine on their devices. Google controls about 90% of the online search market. In 2021, Google paid $26 billion to ensure its search engine was the default on smartphones and browsers. The judge found this restricts Google's rivals from accessing the skill needed to effectively compete with the search giant. The decision sent Alphabet stocks tumbling 4% on Monday. In a statement, a Google spokesperson said, quote, "This decision recognizes that Google offers the best search engine, but concludes that we shouldn't be allowed to make it easily available." Alphabet plans to appeal the decision.
Reacting online, Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar tweeted, quote, "For years, Google has used its dominance in online search markets to undermine rivals and limit competition. This is a huge victory for the American people and shows the importance of enforcing our antitrust laws, why I am advocating for competition rules of the road for monopoly tech companies." Similarly, the White House called the ruling a, quote, "victory for the American people." And Karine Jean-Pierre said that Biden and Harris have long believed Americans deserve an internet that is free, fair, and open for competition. Attorney General Merrick Garland said, quote, "No company, no matter how large or influential, is above the law. The Justice Department will continue to vigorously enforce our antitrust laws." All right, here's the problem I have with this decision, though. And, I have no love for big tech. We've had a lot of criticism of various tech policies on this show. I think we've been very social media and tech focused for a number of years as a show that exists on YouTube, on the web. But here's the problem I have. So they're saying that Google is a monopoly because the Google search engine is the default engine on smartphones, and they pay Apple in order to be the default search engine. Well, yeah. I mean, they're the default search engine because they're the one everybody wants to use, right? What if they had no agreement with Apple? They were not paying Apple. I mean, that could be the thing as a result of this decision. And the Google was no longer the default search engine on your iPhone. What would happen? Every customer, every person who buys an iPhone would be irritated and would look for the swiftest way to download Google, to add it as an app onto their iPhone so that it would be. I mean, that whenever you're served something that for whatever reason doesn't give you Google as the default search engine, you are, the vast majority of people, 99% of people, are annoyed and want to and see how they can navigate to the Google search engine the quickest. So given that, right, the justification ostensibly for antitrust and all that is to protect the consumers, but the consumers have spoken with a pretty universal desire to have Google as the search engine. So the government is saying they can't do that despite the clear and expressed wishes of the consumers. I think that doesn't ultimately make any sense. That's my contrarian take, I guess.
Well, if Google is so popular and 99% of people are annoyed when their search engine is not Google, I don't know where you got that number from. I'm not sure that that's true. I know a lot of people who are very afraid of big corporations collecting our data. They don't like that there's back-end access to everything they've ever searched, and they value their privacy, and they choose not to use Google. And Google paying for smartphones to auto-log Google as their default and making it near impossible to change that is something that people don't like. People like free choice. People want to open their browser and use a search engine that they can just simply click to as their favorite search engine and put it in their settings of their phone when they get it set up and they download their contacts. It's something you would only have to do once and do it again if you want to switch it. Google instead paid to be the company that everyone uses. And that's a little bit unfair. As a $1.7 trillion company, How do you compete with that as the little guy? You can't pay Apple more money to prefer your search engine instead. So I think this is a good ruling. And I think people, in a time of being afraid of their data being used against them and being taken by people who never asked for it and shouldn't have it, I think people are likely going to opt for search engines with maybe better privacy, maybe better options, maybe a different algorithm. So this is an antitrust decision that I think is long overdue. I covered it for More Perfect Union back in September when it wasn't really in the news yet. And this really was the main thing in the lawsuit, I will say, is having Google pay to be the default in smartphones and making it near impossible to change. So it seems like they argued the case and that it was a strong case. It all seems good for me in terms of, moving towards a world where people are using the search engine they want to use when their data is being taken by everybody.
I mean, I'm always struck by the fact that the number one search term on Bing, a major other search engine, is Google. Because people are on Bing and going, wait a minute, I want Google, and trying to get there. Yes, there are some privacy conscious people that choice is a good thing. Obviously, there are some people who want to use one of the DuckDuckGo or something like that. That's all fine. I'm all for that. Those choices should be available. They are available. But most people, Google is their default, and it's not that way because it's been construed against the other. It's because it's what people want. It is the clear expressed desire of people. So to have the government come in and say, you can't have the thing, people can't have the thing they clearly want because our feelings are hurt, it's unfair to some inferior product. This is exactly the kind of picking winners and losers in the market that most people find so obnoxious. This is what Amy Klobuchar's judgment, that people would be better if 25% of people used Bing instead of Google. Like, who are you, lady? People want to use this product, and the government is getting in their way. I stipulate this is exactly what people hate about big government progressivism. This is nanny state people trying to say that in our judgment for what kind of internet service products you should use is better than your own, which I think is just obviously not true and is not how people think. Yes, the other choices should be available. They are available, but the vast majority of people, I mean, these are popular companies with popular products, far more popular than our political institutions, far more popular than Congress. And Congress is going to come in, Congress and judges are going to come in and just make the product worse because it's unfair to the competitors. By the way, there's nothing philosophically in the law, antitrust law, that's like you have to be fair to your competitors. No, it has to be fair to the consumer. The standard is this good for the consumer, not is this good for some rival product. You obviously don't have to run a business in a way to make things like nice for your competitors. You're trying to beat your competitors. The whole law is based on the idea that if there's a monopoly, that will be then they can raise the prices, and that will be bad for the consumers. But here, there's no demonstrated harm to the consumer because the consumer prefers this product, and you can get the other products. So we'll see it in real time. If Apple is forbid or Google is forbidden from paying Apple to be the default search engine, this is actually just going to screw Apple because they're going to have to make Google the default search engine anyway because that's what everybody wants. They just won't get any money from Google over it. So maybe that's a fine outcome, I guess, if you really just feel like Google should lose $20 billion. But that's what people are going to demand, that because they're going to be on Bing instead saying, where's Google? That's what they do. That's their expressed preference.
Yeah, I would say Google being such a monopoly that they control 90% of the market, that they're able to just pay to be the default, that's not competing with the other search engines that are out there. That's paying for your competition to go away. That's not good business. That's not providing something of more value to society so you have more consumers. That's rigging the game against the little guy. And a lot of people across America are sick of the same corporate chains being in every single town. They're sick of seeing small businesses not thriving and being pushed out by huge corporations. And that's happened in part of big government and big corporations being on the same team. And that's exactly what the quote that I always throw to Mussolini described fascism as. He said it would more accurately be called corporatism, and it's the merging together of the corporation and the state. When corporations are so big that they can pay politicians to favor them and be on the same team as them and give them a ton of lobbying money to not break them up and not regulate them, that's what people are afraid of. People don't want an authoritarian society where corporations are so big, they get to filter out what we search for. Do you think Google's giving search results that are favorable to big corporations and the elites in the country? Or do you think they're using their power for a favorable news output when you're trying to search on their website? That's why it's really interesting you bring up the Bing thing, Robbie, because when I was covering this back in September, I was using my iPhone, so it was defaulting to Google. And I wasn't getting news on this at all when I was trying to find it and explicitly searching for it. And I had to go to DuckDuckGo and I had to go to Bing to get news that was critical of Google. And I think people don't want to live in an economy where the government decides that there's going to be no competition. We're just going to let the biggest companies control their industry. People don't want that. People like competition. People like products getting better because they have to compete for consumers to use them. And I think this is going to be something that it's really revealing for who is against this, because that really goes to show who likes big corporations and who likes authoritarianism. You can call it big government, but really what this is the government enforcing market competition, which is not what they've been doing. They've turned down a lot of decisions in the antitrust division of the DOJ where they could have broken up companies, and they've waited a very long time. Ticketmaster and Google are overdue for this kind of regulation.
I could not disagree more strongly. Market competition is exactly what happens. Is the market determining that this is the best product, this is the one that won out on the market, and this is the one people want to use. What we're now going to get is the opposite of competition, which is the government deciding this product is too well liked, and we're going to stop stop the financial transaction between private companies to have it be the default search engine, so that to benefit a rival company. I mean, Bing is owned by Microsoft, another major corporation. This is just a decision to benefit them. This is just the government saying, we're going to give them something favorable now. I mean, I'm sure they have lobby. This is where the whole corporatism thing, which I'm totally against, by the way, I agree with you, that's what fascism is and that it's very bad. But like, this isn't a blow to corporations. This is a blow to a specific firm to benefit a rival firm that I'm sure is lobbying the very same people. You know, I don't want these outcomes decided by who is the most connected in Washington, by who can best rig the legislature or best leverage the people who make the regulations to benefit them. I want to let the market decide. And on this matter, the market decided pretty clearly. If these other search engines were offering a vastly better product, I mean, there's so much creative destruction in the tech sector. What is the most preferred search engine has changed dramatically over time. What are the most visited websites has changed dramatically over time, because the market here is so dynamic and it's so impermanent and something new comes along. And I obviously think some rules of the road have to be enforced, but the monopolies in the tech sector, I mean, there's this constant disruption occurring, and it's market driven. It's because people move on to a different product. So to hear for the government to say, no, we're deciding something that everybody likes, most people like, is it has to take a blow so some other corporation can maybe get a shot, a corporation that people mostly use the product in order to find the product we're now punishing. It just seems so misguided to me. But I also expect this decision to be reversed at some higher court. But we'll have to leave it there. Tell us what you think about this decision. This is a lively debate. Let us know in the comments. We'll have more Rising right after this.